friends, what's up? How's it going? I have a great book for you today. It's an author I've talked about many times on my channel. I'm excited to bring you her latest book. The book is called King of Hearts. The author is Ashley Munoz. I've done several videos on Ashley's books. I adore her. She's one of my favorites. I will of course include in the description box below the other videos I've done on her work, and this is the second book in a series. So the first book was Wild Card. I will of course include that in the description box below. And now here we have book 2. I believe the series is the Rake Forge University series. I have to say that the whole university concept didn't really seem, although it was part of the book, there was just all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, that's right, they're college age. Like, I kind of forgot about that because the story just is so full of like a whole other ball of wax. I love that I have been able to take this journey with Ashley. I read her very first book, A Glimmer. It was even before I had my channel. I've read all of her books, save one, and that was totally my fault. I thought I signed up to read it and I didn't. And I think it's almost a year old now. And I keep meaning to go back and read it, but my schedule just fills up so fast. So it's hard to fit books in, but it's on my list, 100%. I have so enjoyed growing with her and her storytelling. She gets better and better and better with every book. And let me tell you, I've been into it since the beginning. Like, I loved Glimmer. I have loved all of her books. There's been something really special about these last few that just have gone to a whole new level for me. So like I mentioned, this is book 2 in the series. Keep that in mind. I never want to give a spoiler, and I'm always trying to be really careful about that. So keep that in mind. If you haven't read Wild Card, you might want to go grab that first. I am the type of reader that really likes to read sequentially. So, oh my gosh, and as I'm filming, I have had to stop like 5 times because I've got Rue and Macy in here with me, of course, and Rue is getting into everything. She is now trying to eat a basket that I have a plant in. So hold on a second. I'm gonna go get her out of it. Sorry, honey. You're into everything. Wild Card was about Mallory and Decker. Taylor is Mallory's stepsister. I was very clear in my video on Wild Card that I had a lot of questions. Oh my God, she's full of it today. She is out there prancing around. Okay, I had a lot of questions about Taylor and Wild Card. I didn't connect with her so much. I wasn't feeling her so much. She just was somebody, I couldn't put my finger on her. And I didn't know, but now I know that I think that was purposeful on Ashley's part. I think she was planting the seeds for us. And let me tell you, wow, everything I thought about Taylor is completely the opposite. And I freaking love that Ashley could surprise me like that. So Wild Card was about Mallory and Decker, and then King of Hearts is about Taylor and Juan. We also met Juan in Wild Card. Juan is Mallory's best friend. I adored Juan in Wild Card. I was so happy to get more of him in King of Hearts, and let me tell you, did we get more of Juan? Holy smokes. There are conclusions that you could draw at the end of Wild Card about Taylor and her life as it is currently in the book. So I don't believe I'm giving a spoiler away because you know I don't like to do that, but I think if you read it and you're here because you read Wild Card and you've read King of Hearts, you know this, and I am pretty sure that this is out in the world, but Taylor's pregnant, and that's a whole other question. Who's the daddy? So I wasn't sure about any of that. In any case, Taylor is in a really rough spot, and Mallory, of course, has gone on to marry Decker and they live in New York. Taylor's still trying to finish school, and their dad, Charlie, sold the townhouse they lived in. And she was like, yeah, it's fine. What we don't know in Wildcard, but what we realize pretty soon in King of Hearts, is that Taylor has an expiration date to the life as she knows it. This is where this book was a complete and utter surprise to me. And I was like, wait, what? Completely different than any assumption that I had about either of these two characters. And I freaking love that. So the book starts and Taylor is visibly pregnant, trying to find another place to live, trying to stand on her own 2 feet. She's in a low spot, and automatically, like right away, my heart felt for her, which was so different than how I felt in Wildcard. Juan is like a good guy, and Mallory has asked him to kind of keep an eye on her, Taylor, because he's back at the school. He, of course, graduated and went to play professional hockey, but has had to come back, and that didn't really work out. They're both in like an interesting spot. We can feel the tension between them. I wasn't sure where we were going with that tension. I knew where we ended up, and let me tell you, I was here for it. I was anxious to figure out what that meant for them. Like, what the heck is going on? This is Taylor from the very beginning of the book. No one ever stayed with me. I was always forgotten, and after a while, I had gotten used to it, finding my own form of entertainment, but none of that was the same as having Juan's body pressed against mine or the way his scent wrapped around me. So I was like, oh, okay, so there's a little something between them. Or is there? They've run into each other and the tension is high and they are just like teeth and nails with each other. And this is from Juan's perspective. Am I the only asshole you've encountered in your precious, sheltered life? I peered over my shoulders while tackling the dishes in the sink. Don't ask me why I was suddenly washing dishes, except that it bugged the hell out of me that there were dirty ones in the sink. That paired with a myriad of takeout boxes on the counter, the place was a mess. Taylor was supposed to have moved out, but every few days I check, and sure enough, she was still there. You don't know anything about my life, she stated, her voice wavering just the smallest bit. I knew enough of her life to know she wasn't worth the time I spent checking on her. I knew she was selfish, self-centered. I knew she was stuck in my head, and I didn't understand why. Whether I was skating, fighting, or effing, there she was, blonde hair the color of sunshine on a cloudless day, her blue eyes glittering with unshed tears, the one she thought no one ever saw, and that skin. I turned my head, ignoring her tan, smooth skin. I touched it, and it was stuck in my head too. Occasionally that image would guide my hand while I fisted my an attempt to get her out of my system. I know your gold-digging mother found herself a winning lottery ticket in the form of a magical married Charles Shaw and became a millionaire's wife overnight. I know you've been spoiled for the past 6 years, making your stepsister's life a living hell. I know you're selfish, conceited, and an easy lay. Oh, okay, he is not mincing words with her. And then he goes on, you want to know why I'm an asshole to you every time I see you? I suddenly said to her retreating form. She paused in the middle of the hallway and spun on her heel. Because we kissed and I thought you were someone else? Fire, ice. She made me feel too effing much. I took a step towards her, narrowing my eyes. I'm an asshole because you're selfish. You don't deserve Mallory as a stepsister. She does everything for you and you effing throw it in her face. Everything you do makes her life harder. And because she has me in her life, someone who actually cares about her, I'm not going to sugarcoat how badly I wish you just effing disappear. Trust me, the fact that you kissed me has nothing to do with it. I just can't stand you, but neither can anyone else, so at least I'm not alone in that. I had finally done it. I'd made her cry. Okay, this was not the Juan that I loved from Wildcard. I mean, there was a realness to him for sure in his relationship with Mallory, but I was like, woo, even though wasn't Taylor's biggest fan, started to understand a little bit that she was different than what we thought of her. So for him to go at her like that, I was upset for her and felt protective for her. As it turns out, neither one of them are who each other thinks each other is. They're not who I thought they were. I'm sure if you read the book, they're not who you thought they were. They have this whole other identity and life going on that no one else knows about. What? And then couple that with their attraction to each other and them also holding those feelings close to the vest and not understanding each other because they won't let each other in and they make assumptions. It was a lot. Juan has this protective nature that he just has. And he had it with Mallory. And when she was having trouble with Decker and against, people that he felt like weren't good for her, like her own stepsister. And by the way, her stepmother, Taylor's mom. So he is a little perplexed that he's got this protective nature that starts to come out with Taylor. And we get these little glimpses. Taylor is walking on campus. She's visibly pregnant. And she sees him and she's trying not to she's like trying to skate along so that he doesn't see her. And she ends up running into somebody, a guy, and she ends up falling. And immediately he's at her side and he's like, saying to the guy, how could you not see her? You need to be careful, watch where you're going. And Taylor is like so happy. But yet in the same respect, she's like, F you. Like, who are you? You said all those mean things to me. Who are you now to come to my defense? Like, what the hell? He can't help when that instinct kicks in. And I love that about him. These two characters dance around their feelings more than any book I can remember reading in the recent past. They are trying to protect their own hearts. They're trying to protect each other because there's this whole other element to their story that no one knows. And they're trying to make sure that the secret doesn't get out. Oh my gosh. This is what Taylor says, and it was exactly perfect about how they dance around each other. It always felt like we were in this dark room, playing hide and seek with one another, him always beckoning me to come and play. There is a darkness that they start to see in each other, and it became clear with that darkness that we know about as readers in this story, and how we start getting more of all of that, where I was like, okay, it's destiny. Like, they need each other to survive the life that they have in front of them. Taylor basically, in the beginning of the book, for a good part of the book, has nowhere to go because she won't take money from her mom and from her stepdad. She only has a little bit of money. She doesn't have a job. She's trying to finish school. And so she ends up sleeping in her car. And she's pregnant. And it pulled at all of those heartstrings of being a young woman, literally having nowhere to sleep because she's trying to protect those around her. She's trying to protect her baby. She's just waiting for this kind of impending doom that she knows is coming. And Juan, she's sleeping in her car. Was it on campus? I can't remember where he found her, but he's walking across a parking lot and he notices her car and he's like, what is her car still doing here? So he goes over the car and she's sleeping in the car. And he's like, nope, this is not happening. This is not happening. I can't, even though, I'm totally attracted to you. I totally want to be with you, but I hate you. So he insists that she come and stay with him. And They become roommates of sorts. And again, like, he can't help his protective nature. And he's such a nurturer and a protector. And that just gets me every single time. But now they're living together. And it's opening up a whole new can of worms. Like, and Taylor talks about, like, basically her engine is revving all the time. He does it for her in spades, but yet they are always in each other's way as far as that goes. And she knows that if she could just have sex with him and that would be it, that would be fine. But with him, her heart gets involved. And so yes, and they're still hiding secrets from each other, and he's the same way. He was definitely more forthcoming with his feelings. When we read from his perspective, because it's dual perspective, there was definitely a softness that I felt with him in regards to her. Now, he wasn't telling her any of that, but I could get that from him, where she was still about protecting him, and she knew that they could never be together because of this other stuff. And so it just wasn't, she just didn't even allow herself to entertain that. This is from Juan's perspective while they're living together. She wasn't wrong. If I wasn't mean, I'd be nice. And if I were nice, I'd do something I'd regret, like I had when she dragged me by the collar and kissed me. I'd kissed her back with as much passion because I had wanted her. She had been a constant beat in my chest that wouldn't stop, a rhythm that wouldn't change chords. She was constant. Then she finally pressed her lips to mine, gently tugging my heart from my chest, only to trip over it on her way out the door. Oh, Ashley's writing, love her word choices, and oh my gosh, all the feels. And then this is Taylor's perspective a little bit later. It didn't help that Juan was insanely hot and cold with me. One second he was devouring me with his eyes, smoldering and clenching his molars to the point where that muscle in his jaw ticked. And the next he was saying such horrible things to me. I honestly had no delusions that this living situation would last long. I wasn't kidding when I said I would rather be homeless than deal with his rude remarks. She just can't. She is good with the wall she erects, but behind that is this girl, young, beautiful soul, vulnerable. And she's got this hard exterior because life has made her that way, because she loves him. Those remarks hurt, Oh, written so well. The interesting thing about their secrets that I've mentioned, they're so similar in so many ways. But once their hands are forced and they have to talk about it, and literally it's all around them, I was like, yay, yay. And yet you're like, oh crap, how is this gonna turn out? Neither one of them wants to be part of that world. Juan is doing a better job of staying out of it. Taylor can't help but be forced into it. And that whole part of the book, like all that drama, was like chef's kiss, wonderful. I loved all that drama. It had my heart pumping. Talk about amping the tension level up a couple notches. It also opened up a whole new world of questions that I have about characters that we met in Wildcard, that we saw again here in King of Hearts, and then the next book is The Joker. So getting back to the secrets, when the tables turn and all the cards are on the all the cards are on the table. I didn't plan that. Anyway, when the tide turns a bit and all the cards are on the table and they both know each other's secrets, there were some really tender moments that I absolutely loved. This one's from Juan's perspective. Swiping her wet hair out of her face, I cradled her in my arms while we sat on the bath tiles, the heat pouring over us while my girl let out her demons. There was something unhinged about her tears, like she pulled out a hidden box that hadn't been revealed in years, and now she was shuffling through all the pain that had been locked away. It was with slow clarity that I realized there was more to Taylor's life than I knew. In fact, I hardly knew her at all. Perfection. That's the whole book. That's Juan in this book finding out what's in that box that she keeps hidden away. Oh, loved it. And then this is Taylor. My mind tugged at the pieces how eerily similar Juan's life was to my own. Both sired by monsters, both saved by brave mothers who found better men to raise us, now forced to return to the mess our fathers created. Again, perfection. The whole book from Taylor's perspective. Absolutely perfect. And then these two parts about Juan just had me like a smitten kitten. These are from his perspective. My heart felt like it might explode. I stared at the tiny bundle in my girl's arms, and with my head I knew she was hers. Knew she wasn't mine, but as I looked down at her and saw how perfect and small she was, something clicked in my heart, telling me this little girl was mine. She'd be mine her entire life. No one would ever take her from me. I loved her as much as I loved her mom, just in a vastly different way. I bent down, pressing my lips to the baby's head, letting my own tears fall. I was tired of fighting them. I was feeling so much and couldn't hold them back anymore. Oh, like, yes. And then a little bit later, deep down, I'd always known she would. It was obvious with how she seemed to entertain the idea of a relationship, but required each aspect of it to be guarded with a chain link fence, like she didn't know how to love people without fences, walls, rooms, enough space to keep her demons hidden away. My brave girl. She should have known me better than that. By now she knew my demons looked just like hers, knew I had been raised by a monster too, and the roaring in her blood was the same echoed in mine. She was meant for me, and I was going to have her. That's it. That's a wrap. How gorgeous was those words, how Ashley wrote them, how you can feel everything that Juan is expressing. I love how Ashley has unfolded these stories, like hit me like a Mack truck. I absolutely love that that's how I have felt with this series. It's just been the best surprise. Let me know if you have read Wild Card, King of Hearts, or any of Ashley's other books. You know I always love to hear. If you enjoyed the video, I would love for you to hit the thumbs up button and consider subscribing. Stick around and join the community here. Don't forget you can find me on social media. I am katreadsromance on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And then I also have a private Facebook group, which is Kat's Romance Readers. So come on over and say hello to me over there. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.